Let's talk about John's numerical symbols in the book of Revelation, specifically the mystical number of the beast. Now, whoever the beast is, John is certain that the people who read his letter would be able to understand what he was talking about. This is quite different than some current trends in popular theology, which assert that the beast is an unknown person from the future. The word Antichrist doesn't appear anywhere in the book of Revelation. Now, the mystical number that's associated with the beast is 666. At least in most surviving texts, it's 666. There are some Greek and Hebrew manuscripts in which the number is 616. This textual variant was known as early as the late 2nd century, as Irenaeus notes it in his writings. There's a lot of different theories about what is going on here, and who the number is referring to, but it seems most likely that the number is symbolic of the name Nero. Now, both the letters of the Hebrew and the Greek alphabets were symbolically used as numbers, with the value of the number corresponding to a place in the alphabet. So, for example, in English, the letter A would be the number 1, and so on. In this technique, if you add up the values of the different letters within a person's name, then you can find that person's number. In Hebrew, the letters of NERON Caesar add up to 666. Now, NERON Caesar isn't actually the most common spelling of Caesar Nero's name. In most cases, Nero doesn't have an N on the end. However, if you drop the N, then his name would add up to 616, which is possibly why there's different textual variants of this passage, some saying 666, others saying 616. The evidence seen in these textual variants actually increases the likelihood that this number, at least understood by the early Christians, was in fact referring to Nero. But there are some other possibilities, two in particular, that we should mention. In Greek, if you spell out Caesar God, that adds up to 616. As does the Latin spelling of Caesar Nero. However, none of these interpretations necessarily exclude the others. Now, in the book of Revelation, the Nero legend is associated with the beast from the abyss and with what John refers to as the 8th king, who is at the same time one of the 7 emperors. Now, the problem with this is that the book appears to have been written towards the end of the reign of Caesar Domitian, not Nero. So, why is Nero's name being used if Domitian is the emperor? Well, the legend of a revived Nero is something that appears a number of different times after the fall of the Jerusalem temple in the year 70. This also helps to pinpoint the date that Revelation would have been written, as it indicates that it was in fact written after the year 70 when the temple was destroyed. However, this would also exclude Nero as the ruling emperor at the time. The likely reason that 666 or 616 refers to Nero and not Domitian is because just as Babylon was used by the early Christians as a pseudonym for Rome, it appears that Nero was also being used in place of Domitian. Just as Babylon had destroyed the first temple, and just as Nero was the first emperor to brutally persecute the Christians, so Rome was the new Babylon, and Domitian was the new Nero, or Nero revived. The people who first read John's letter, or Revelation, were beginning to see themselves as the recipients of Roman persecution, sanctioned by the emperor. And it would have seemed to them that Nero had in fact been revived, if not physically, at least in spirit. The Nero revived myth isn't even specifically an early Christian idea. Both Juvenal and Pliny the Younger, who were writing just after Domitian's reign, regarded Domitian as the second Nero. This would also explain the oddity in the text of Revelation, where John refers to the current emperor as number 8, and yet at the same time as one of the previous 7. This makes sense if Domitian is Nero returned.